it might be time for me to talk a little bit about this, because this is the. So I say we. Again, I mentioned earlier, I was not part of the selection or suggestion of the benefactor charity for Desert Bus Express, but we talked about some various options. But we wanted to see if we could direct the Desert Bus generosity cannon somewhere that's not Child's Play, who will still benefit from Desert Bus in November. We had a lot of different options. We know that a majority of our viewers and many of the participants are not necessarily Canadian, but we were like, what if we keep things local? And one of the suggestions was BC Cancer Foundation. And in their, they were very happy to hear this when we reached out to them. And I think this is great, because in their sort of like fundraising one sheet, they have like a PDF of like, oh, if you want to fundraise for us, here's some info about best practices to do that. And they have a call out, make it personal. Personal stories and experiences resonate with people. Articulate your involvement with the BC Cancer Foundation and why raising funds for cancer research is important to you. Well, I'll tell you, because it wasn't fun.
No.
Do you have any stories, Graham? I sure do. And the best part was that I didn't have to pay anything. In fact, even the joke, of course, is like the Canadian healthcare joke is like, oh, this happened and all I had to pay for is parking at the hospital. Parking at the cancer clinic also was free for patients. So, that was pretty cool.
It's like that in America too.
Good. I assume it should be.
It should be.
Oh. I didn't notice the.
That was a ruse, Graham.
I didn't notice the wincing and head shaking.
You can't walk near a hospital without getting a bill in America.
Oh. The criticism that is usually leveled at Canadian healthcare is that, like, yeah, it's free, but you got to wait a while, and that was not my experience. Partially because they really needed to intervene. But yeah, I spent a year going to the cancer clinic here in Victoria. BC Cancer Association, again, who the BC Cancer Foundation. The BC Cancer Foundation is the fundraising arm of BC Cancer, and thank goodness it was great. It was they could use some new chairs. I'll say that. But we would go into the room. It was like a big room full of people on these big blue, like, massive reclining chairs, and they hook you up to all this stuff, and you sit there for hours while all the drugs go through. And I had, for those keeping score who are not aware, I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which sucked. But in the realm of cancer one can have, if one simply must get cancer, I would recommend non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, as it's fairly treatable, which is nice. It's the same thing actually Hank Green had, and I do like to throw to his tweet, I think it was, which is like, I can't remember the exact wording. I really should find this because I reference it so often, but he posted, they say God gives his biggest challenges to his strongest warriors, which is why he gave me, a little baby, the easiest, most treatable form of cancer possible. And I've always loved that, because I like, look, it sucked. I don't like to get into how much it sucked that often, because it really did suck so bad. But in the grand scheme of things, I really do feel like I got away with it, because every time I would go in, the nurses would be like, with this sort of intonation, they'd be like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, yeah, it's okay. And they'd be like, with their hand forward, and how's the nausea? Right? And I'm like, fine. And they're like, oh, okay. But I can infer from the way that they said that like, some people get the nausea real bad. Yeah. But they gave me some sort of this preposterous anti-nausea medication that, like, I'm looking around like I have it, but it had like this like trifold cardboard like it was 2 pills in a thing like this big, which I assume was to justify the cost if you were just buying it at retail. But my oncologist was like, all right, we're going to make sure that we get you this stuff for anti-nausea. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. And he's like, it usually costs, it was like $270 or something, but he's like, but you'll get it for free. And I was like, great. No, this wasn't even on Dancitron, which, by the way, that sounds like a robot at a disco.
Yeah.
On Dancitron is great.
I
and it
thought
does
you were
amazing
talking
work.
about a video game for a second. I was like, this is a very
I
drastic
am
shift.
Dancotron.
No, there's an anti-nausea med called on Dancitron, and I'm like, did you misspeak? It was very funny. But the something I remember from one of my times in there in the room full of people, and we're all getting our treatment, is that there's a bunch of older folks. God, there were some old folks in there getting their treatments, and they were wearing what looked like oven mitts, right? And they were just like, they were sitting there in their chair, and they had these oven mitts on. And I asked the nurse, I was like, what's up with the oven mitts? And she's like, oh, those are cold gloves. And I was like, what? And it's, they're like a gel pack thing. You put them in the freezer, and then they can wear them. And I was like, why are they wearing cold gloves? And it's because it was to reduce the circulation in their hands. They had little footies as well. It's to reduce the circulation in their hands so that the chemo drugs don't go as much into the extremities, because if they did, then their fingernails would pop off.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Interesting.
And so I'm like, A,
Good glove.
I'm like, A, good glove. B,
I like them.
Can I have some?
so glad that I'm not dealing with that. And C, like, this is the sort of thing that, like, it's so beyond my area of knowledge. And this is part of why, to me, I was immediately just like, boy, we got to keep funding this shit. Pardon me. 'Cause it's like, that sucks so bad. I can't imagine going through all the stuff I was going through, and also
Having to worry.
my fingernails and toenails pop off. Like, oh,
Nah, man.
So, yeah. I will also share one other great anecdote, just because I think it's very funny. I shared in my my announcement of when I said that I got this, one of the funniest things that a medical professional has ever said to me, which was the good news, it's aggressive. And I explained why that actually was good news. But the other funniest thing was that the BC Cancer nutritionist I had spoken to, and she was talking about how it is, often people have trouble with their appetite. And so she was like, how's yours? I'm like, I'm fine. And she's like, okay, well then her medical advice was for me to eat as much as I can of whatever I want. And I was like,
Yeah.
great. And so I did. I ate a bunch of healthy stuff, but I also ate junk. Like, I ate so much crap, so many jelly babies. You can get them in bulk off Amazon. It was awesome. But I was like, I wasn't moving. I wasn't exercising because I was exhausted all the time, and I was eating like crap, and I wasn't gaining weight. And I was like, that's weird. In fact, I was losing it, and I was like, that's weird. And so I had talked to the oncologist, and I was like, hey, I'm eating like junk food like mad, and I'm not exercising at all, and I'm like not gaining weight. And he goes, well, we are filling you with poison. And I'm like,
When you're right, you're right.
I was like, oh, right, of course. Because that's what chemo is they almost kill you just enough to kill the cancer, but not enough that you die is the plan. And so, yeah, that's, I think, I know cancer societies all over do great work, but I specifically have had a relationship with BC Cancer, and I think that they're great, and they deserve to keep helping other people. So, yeah,
We're gonna get
my
them some
story.
new chairs.
Yeah,
Big round of applause for Graham for sharing that,
Oh,
because
thank
That
you.
was
appreciate it.
thank you for sharing
Big,
that.
but they're not comfortable. those chairs.
Also, just for a second, I can't help it because it's the carer in me. Hey chat, I saw all your messages, and without trying to cry, you're doing great, and I'm sorry for all those awful things, and thank you for being here and helping raise money because, oh my god,
Thank you
a
all for
lot
being
of us have lost people to cancer.
here. Yeah.
So thank you. Now say something funny.